And this is coming via Red State. This one is actually being reported only 12. Let me see. Let me look. 14. So this is actually kind of high for a blind spot. That's just a lot of people are talking about this right now. Uh, so it's no surprise right now in this current administration that there are there's been tons of gas to say the least. Likely, we heard years ago it was to his stutter, and I've had both Republicans and Democrats, believe it or not, both together saying, "Oh, it's just a stutter." It's like I don't know about that. I don't know about that because you can go back 2 years and you've never heard this stutter before when he was on cameras quite a bit, and you've never heard the stutter out of him. And then all of a sudden, oh, this is a stutter. And it's like it doesn't seem like he's kind of all there. So let's get into this. Let's see what kind of gaff he made this time. And more editorializing. The first full-time lady. Jill Biden is the first full-time lady. She left what sounds like a sad note saying, "Stop trying to make me love you." Whoa, what? Interesting. Convicted domestic abusers. How do you read that off the domestic political advisors? Oh, that's kind of funny. So we've actually seen this a few times too when he's come out with monumental gaffes, and you've had the White House come out and say, "Oh, no, 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 no. That's not what he meant." Uh, and you can see here that they've actually one-lined to help keep guns out of the hands of domestic political advisors, convicted domestic abusers. I mean, that's not a major gaffe, but we've seen this isn't the first time we've seen it out of this presidency. And here's kind of a question I ask myself is who's who this is nothing, but I often ask myself who's running this country, because when we have a president that can say, "Hey, we're going to respond militarily here," and then the White House says, "Nope, no, we're not." It's like, well, hold on a second. Like, well, who's correct? This is the commander in chief. Oh, we're going to intervene in Taiwan. No, no, we're not. It's like, okay, who's saying no, we're not? Because the president just said we are, right? So that's kind of one of the weird things we've seen out of this president. Oh, oh, come on. Yeah, yeah, you hate the guy. We get it. I mean, I'm not saying he's the best president. In fact, far from that. But there's just a lot of, especially when you get further left and further right, you start seeing these publications that are like, more of an editorial than it is actually fact based. And I get that resonates with people, right? So cuz kind of what I'm doing here is providing my commentary, which is an editorial all in and of itself. But what bothers me is when you have these outlets that come out and go, "Oh, we're everything that's truth." My favorite was CNN, and I think the CNN, by any metric, by NewsGuard, by Ground, by all these organizations, they are a left wing outlet, but they pretend like they're the last bastion of journalistic integrity. And I had a former coworker of mine that didn't believe me. That was his primary source of news, and he said, "I'm center of the aisle, but here's my viewpoints on this, and this." And they were all left-wing viewpoints. And it's like, "Oh, well, hold on a second. Where do you get your news?" He's like, "CNN." And I said, "Okay, CNN is a left-wing outlet." And he's like, "No, they're not." And I'm like, "All right, we're going to experiment here. For 1 month, I am going to track everything on their main page. We're not even going to talk about the actual," because he said, "Oh, well, they're when they do their commentary on TV, that's left, but I'm reading CNN.com." And he wouldn't believe me when I pointed out all the articles that you see there in which I found, like, this was back during the Trump presidency too, so everybody was talking about Trump. But I said, for 1 month, we're going to track, and I'm going to be fair and honest here. We're going to track how many anti-Republican and anti-Trump articles they run versus pro or anti-Democrat or pro-Democrat uh, articles they run. And he's like, all right, but you're going to see that they're better than you think they are. All right. So I started covering it. And in the 1 month that I would go every day, every morning, I just pull it up and I just count out, all right, pro, anti, pro, anti, pro, anti, and who it was. And I kept it all in a spreadsheet. And at the end of the month, there was not a single positive article about the GOP, all negative. And in fact, the negative articles were something like 95, 96% just anti GOP. And then there were only 3 articles in the entire month that we counted that were anti DNC or anti Democrat. Um, so no positive GOP, all anti GOP, all pro Democrat, and only 3 articles that were basically chastising uh, any of the chastising any of the DNC members, the Democrats. And I was like, see? And he's like, no, that's not right. It's like, okay, so that's kind of why I'm doing this too. Because people get caught up in their news sources, like I've got my sister who absolutely loves MSNBC, and she comes to me with all these crazy things, and she goes, oh, did you hear about this, that? And I'm like, okay, well, that's not true. That's not true. Here's the story there. Here's the story there. Oh, okay. And then to my wife, who loves Fox News, and she goes, hey, have you heard about this? This is what they were saying. And I go, okay, well, that's half the story, right? Uh, but here's the other half that you don't know. Ranging to my mother, who is a red state QAnon kind of conspiracy theorist that, oh, did you hear that Trump is the second coming of Christ and all, some of the crazy stuff that comes out of the Q crowd. Um, and she comes to me with this stuff, and it's like, yeah, no, like literally none of that's true, except for like maybe that one little thing. But compared to everything around it, the rest of that is bullshit, right? So I brought up CNN. I see, again, I told you I'd run down rabbit holes. I bring up CNN because one of the things that drives me nuts about editorializing the news is that they will try to pass it off as fact, which you see that. What's funny is it's been dubbed the Maddow defense, right? When Maddow was being sued for libel, and they went, "Oh no, it's just opinion; it's not actually fact," and that stood up in court. And so you had a bunch of right wingers go, "Oh, see, fake news, fake news, fake news, not real news." And then months later, Tucker Carlson uses the exact same Maddow defense. Hey, I'm opinion, I'm not news. And that held up in court too. So they editorialize the news and basically make stuff up, or at least through their frame it in their specific way to give you a altered sense of what's going on. And then when they're called out on it, they go, "Oh no, that was just opinion." It's like, well, then why are you presenting it as fact? And where CNN really drives me nuts is a lot of other outlets. You can look and see what's in the editorial section, what is in the fact section. But what CNN likes to do is they don't make it clear. What was it? Analysis. They call it analysis. They put it up there. You have a top story that is factually based, and then another story that's the top story that's factually based, and then just squeaked right in the middle of those two stories, you'll see analysis. Such and such happened, and it's like, okay, that's a fancy way of saying this is somebody's opinion, but trying to pass it off as though it's a factual event that you can't get sued for. So you're misleading, your readers. That drives me freaking up a wall. All right, so we're up on 40 minutes here. I was gonna try to keep. So this is the first one. So we're still in experimental phase. I don't know if this gains traction, if we get viewers. You know, uh, I don't even know if that'll occur. But if it does, great. But we're going to be working as I kind of flesh this out. This is day one, as I flesh all this out and kind of decide what it is I'm going to do and kind of what format I want to take, we're going to be experimenting and kind of figuring out length. We're going to be figuring out time. And eventually, what I'd like to do is, if the channel grows well enough, hopefully, being able to start streaming, because both Rumble and YouTube have streaming restrictions. Obviously, after what was the Christchurch shooting, they obviously, a lot of companies really locked down their live streaming because we don't want something horrific like that happening again. So we got to grow viewership.